Welcome to Grown Sexy Sistahs Talk. This is real conversation for real women about real life. I'm your host, NiseyGail, and I am a personal transformation coach, women's empowerment specialist, and your number one Fierce Sistah. This is episode number 4 and the first episode in the Get Your Mind Right series. Today I have the pleasure of speaking to Mrs. Karen Mercer, who is the co-owner and executive director of Ur Mind Behavioral Health Center in Baltimore, Maryland. Mrs. Mercer holds a master's in pastoral counseling and has over 20 years experience in counseling and social services with a focus in addiction, HIV, and domestic violence. Today, Ms. Karen is going to bless us with all sorts of useful information about anxiety and depression. Now, this information will be right on time because as we speak, there are over 16 million Americans suffering from depression, and at least 33% of us as women will be diagnosed with anxiety in our lifetime. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this first episode in the Get Your Mind Right series. Much love, be blessed, and stay grown and sexy, sister. We'll speak soon. All right, so we are in our session with Miss Karen Mercer, and I'd like to welcome you to Grown and Sexy Sistahs Talk. This is real conversation for real women about real life. And so I'm so excited to have my special guest today, Mrs. Karen Mercer. She's an amazing, amazing woman. She has so many wonderful things to add to the conversation. So let's just start by, tell us about who you are, Ms. Karen, your organization, and what you stand for.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to this video today. I'm just happy to be here. I work at a Renewed Mind Behavioral Health Center. It's actually my private practice. I'm in practice with Dr. Karen Felder Moore, who is my partner. And we provide therapeutic services for children, for adults, individuals, groups, and also we do marriage and premarital counseling as well. We work a lot with couples around a number of issues. Okay. We have approximately, I think it's now 6 staff members at ARM. Okay. We each are in different levels of our licensure process. Mm-hmm. We have 2 PhD levels, and everyone else has master's or master level therapists. Okay. So we are here to provide services to the community and also to help train new therapists as they go out into the field. So that's what we do at ARM.
Okay, amazing. So tell us, what inspired you to start helping women and to get ARM off the ground?
So I started the practice in 2007, and I started it not just for women, but definitely for our community. It was important to me that people who needed services could find those services and sit down with someone who looked like them. Yeah. And also at a level where they could afford those services. Mm-hmm. We don't take insurance, but we have a very liberal sliding fee scale. Okay. And we work with people so that they can afford the services they need. It doesn't do me a lot of good or them a lot of good to charge them so much that they can't afford to come to the practice. Right. Or they stop and they start. So we want to make it such that they start, they journey to where they need to go, and then, they can afford to do that in a comfortable setting with someone that they feel comfortable with.
Absolutely. I think that's wonderful. And it's really important, like you said, to be able to have the resources available. And I think, in our community, which I didn't bring my numbers, usually I write down lots of numbers. I didn't bring my stats today, but I know that there's a huge, huge gap in the amount of African Americans who have the resources available for their mental health and to be able to take care of that. And so, well, first of all, we have the huge stigma, but we're going to get into that in a little while. But right. Part of the challenge is also that even for the people who want help and recognize they need help, not having the resources available. And like you said, the comfort level of being able to go to someone that looks like them that can possibly understand their challenge. So I think this good stuff is really amazing that you took the leap and started such a great resource in the community.
It was a leap of faith.
Yes, I bet it was. Look, anything we do that's outside of the norm and we think outside the box, it's a leap of faith to make it work. So I can definitely understand that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
We've been pleased with, I think, the amount of responses that we've received from the community. We have people that come in. They are directed there a lot of times by other people who come to our services or come to our facility, and they've been referred. They end up really feeling very comfortable with that referral. and then they end up referring us to other people. So, definitely it's word of mouth. We definitely have a web page as well that people can go to and learn more about us as well.
Okay, awesome. So now we're going to get into a little bit later. I'm going to make sure that we ask for all the information so that if we do have anyone, that's listening that wants to be able to reach out to you, then they'll know exactly where to find you, the website and everything.
Okay.
Is that good? Okay.
That's good.
All right, awesome. So now I'm going to ask you one of my favorite questions. I love this top 3 thing because with all of the experts that I've been talking to, I know that, there's always a top 3 reasons or a top 3 excuses or a top 3 something. So the next question is, what are the top 3 common issues that you see at a Renewed Mind Behavioral Health Center?
Let's see, the top 3 would be definitely relationship issues. Oftentimes drive people into therapy with us. Mm-hmm. We also see a lot around anxiety and depression. I'm going to put those together because they sometimes come coupled together. Yeah. And then I think my last the third one would probably be maybe grief and loss.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the top ones.
Okay. And now on this specific, so that's 3 different podcasts.
Yeah, yes. Really,
all right.
4, yes.
4 different podcasts. Okay, yeah. So the relationship one, I didn't know, this is a bonus, Miss Karen, because I didn't know that you can help us with the relationship one. So we're going to have to do a separate one where we talk to you about relationship stuff.
Okay. We do a lot of groups on healthy relationships, and we look at domestic violence. Mm-hmm. I work with both victims and perpetrators of domestic violence in my practice. Not together, but we definitely work with them. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's good. That's good news. So now let's talk about today. We're just going to focus on the anxiety and depression.
Okay.
And now, one of the things about Grown Sexy Sistahs Talk, real conversation for real women about real life, and you know this because you did an event with me, is that I'm pretty transparent about stuff. And so I feel like, just making sure that I'm out here using the things that I've gone through to try to help other people in their struggles that they might possibly be having is the reason. Okay. So I say all that to say that's my disclaimer. Okay. Disclaimer. I'm going to say this. So I obviously have had some challenges, and I have suffered from depression and also anxiety. Mm-hmm. And so the thing about this is that we don't know what that looks like. I personally didn't know what it looked like because my family and my generations and family and my mom and everybody, if they were having challenges like this, I didn't know about it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't something that we talked about. And so when I started having issues, and if you guys read my blog, I have a blog post on there called It's Okay to Not Be Okay. And in it, I talk about how I had gotten to a point where I was completely spinning out of control. I had no idea. Like, I was like a crazy person, right? And I reference it, the angry Black woman syndrome, right? Because there's a lot of us that's running around here and we're angry. We've been labeled stereotypically angry Black women, right? And we don't know why we're angry. We're just mad. Like, I know for me, I was just mad at everything. I had no idea. What? I mean, I was fussing people out, cussing people. I had no idea what was going on with me. And so I had kept spinning until I got to a point where I was like about to explode. And I was like, I got to go to somebody because this is probably not normal. Mm-hmm. Right? And so after therapy and 2 years of therapy, and going and having these conversations and digging deep and trying to figure it out, it's anxiety, it's depression, and it's evolved into this huge thing. And had I not gone to someone to have that conversation to figure out why am I so wow all the time, then I would never have known. Right. Yeah. So that's why I really think that it's important to have these conversations, because there may be other sisters out there who have these same symptoms and they're going through these things. And, at some point I just thought I was crazy. People say, crazy. No, it's not crazy. It's not crazy. Okay. There's something else going on there and we need to figure it out. And so I say all that to say, please tell us, what are some of the warning signs or symptoms of anxiety and depression. I know that's two different things. So if you kind of break it down for us.
Sure. Let me start with anxiety. I mean, it's normal to be anxious about some things. For example, you have a speaking engagement. You have to go and meet new people in a job-related situation that you're just not, or even just in a social situation.
Mm-hmm.
And you have these little butterflies that come. So there's this feeling of uneasiness or discomfort. And that's situational, and that's normal. All right.
Mm-hmm.
When we know we're in trouble, when it's something where we're feeling uneasy or worrying every day, all day long, we can't sleep at night, we toss and turn, we're angry, we're frustrated, we get so fatigued that we just don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be related. And when you think about anxiety, there are a number of different types of anxiety disorders. So you have post-traumatic stress, you have generalized anxiety, you have phobias. So there are a number of different types of anxiety disorders that, you know, that kind of come under that umbrella. But when you realize that it's debilitating for you, when it starts to be a barrier in other things in your life, that's when you know it's time to talk to someone. It's time to seek out some help. Sometimes it can show up in physical symptoms where not only can you not sleep, but you can't eat, or you eat too much, or you realize that you don't want to leave your house. You don't enjoy things. And that's kind of when we also start looking at depression as well, because some of those same symptoms are symptoms of depression. So it's normal to be sad over sad situations. It's normal to wake up one day and just have the blues, just not be in a really great place. You're just in a funky place. It's something else when this carries on for 2 weeks or more, to the point where you can't move out of bed. You feel fatigued. Once again, like anxiety, you feel sad, a persistent sadness. You are crying. You may be angry. You know, men especially, their depression doesn't show up the same way that ours shows up as women. So, you know, for those of us who have partners or brothers or fathers that we're like seeing this change in their demeanor, it might be depression, and not just that they're angry. Or that they're starting to do, you know, kind of wild and crazy things that tend to be dangerous. That tends to also be another sign of depression. There may be kind of a feeling of you're really focused on death, to the point where, you know, you're thinking of committing suicide, or you don't even realize that suicide is in your top level of thinking right now. But you start doing dangerous things that are risky in nature. So that could also be a sign or a symptom. So those are some of the things that, you know, you can look for, not only in yourself, but in others as well. Definitely the phobias are there, where we can't get out of the car, can't leave the house. And not only is it just like right then and right there, we do things to avoid the fear. So, for example, it's not that I'm fearful of elevators. Maybe I'm just fearful of meeting strangers in an elevator. And so I take the stairs. To the point where I just don't even want to get on the elevator. Those are some of the other things that, you know, some of the symptoms of things that are going on with some people around anxiety.
That's really interesting. Now, you touched on, and I could definitely relate to a lot of that stuff. But, you know, what I've learned and through going to therapy and stuff is that it runs in my family, right? Because my mom was a worrier, but we just thought she was a worrier. Yeah, she was a worrier. She worried about everything, like all day, every day. She was worried about something. And it was just like, my mom is a worrier. And so, but now, you know, that there's a name to it, and we understand that this is actually, that normally worrying everything, like you said, you can be, anxious about a little something that might be coming up or something you need to do, but just worrying all day, every day, to the point where it has physical symptoms, right? And stomach issues and all these things. And that's not normal. And so I'm glad that you were able to list those out. Now, you did mention about depression, and I've had family members that, you know, have suffered from depression. And I spoke about it in the event that we just did, that it was good that I knew the symptoms, because, you know, a lot of the people that were in my circle didn't know what those symptoms looked like. And so when this family member started having problems, I was the first one that raised the red flag. And I was like, wait. hold on a second, something's not right with the way that she's been acting. She's been, she hasn't been speaking to us on a regular basis, or she's been, not going to family functions the way she would. And so something's not right here. Let's take a deeper look at that. And so now a lot of people think that depressed people are just sad. Now you mentioned that, right? So, they're just sad. They'll get over it.
No.
Okay. Talk to me about that.
So one of the things that we need to think about is the persistence of this, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes, like I said, it doesn't show up as sadness. It shows up as anger. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you find that people who are in a depressed state will self-medicate. So not only, when we think about alcohol, a lot of people think alcohol is this wonderful way to feel up and cheery. No, it's a depressant. It makes you feel even worse.
Right.
So you start to see people really kind of go further and further down. Okay. It's deeper than just sadness.
Okay.
There is like a light has gone off, for lack of a better way to describe it.
Okay.
They have people that are dealing with depression often don't have any energy to do anything that they used to love to do. So, for example, if I love to go to family functions, if I really was kind of the ball, the belle of the ball type of thing, and I guess was like the person that really cheered everyone up, and all of a sudden I'm not showing up. Or if I do show up, I'm sitting in a corner all by myself, really kind of isolating myself. So isolation is one of those things that you want to look for as well. But yeah, I think that definitely those are some of the signs that we want to look at. And as you said and mentioned, heredity is a factor there. With depression, there's heredity and anxiousness. There's that heredity factor. There is, alcohol, life stressors. All of those things can trigger both depression and anxiety in individuals.
Okay. And that's really good to know, because there's a huge stigma, we know, in our community, especially with mental illness and mental health awareness. And it's just because I think there's not a big enough understanding of what it is, what it looks like, and what causes it. And it's not just, like you said, there's stressors in life that obviously we'll have to deal with, but having some of these challenges is bigger than just a stressor. Right? There's chemical imbalances involved. There's a lot of science behind it. And so I think that it's really important that we learn what this looks like and be comfortable with saying, okay, this is what it looks like. I'm not crazy. I'm not just sad. There might be something going on here. It could be hereditary. Let me just go speak to someone who can help kind of put me in the right direction to learn more about this and what I can do to help myself with it.
Right. And sometimes, it sounds cognitively like it makes sense. If I'm feeling this way, why don't I just go talk to someone? Mm-hmm. The problem is there's this sense of hopelessness that's also a factor there.
Right.
That says even if I go talk to someone, there's nothing that they can do.
Right.
I need to just, especially in our community, and I think we talked about this at your last event, it's like a superwoman, superhero vest that I have on that says, I can handle this. Society says I'm supposed to handle this.
Right.
My mom handled this. My sister handles this. I can handle this. And somehow with that, we forget that we are human. We're fragile sometimes. We need help. Seeking that help is what's important. It doesn't make you crazy. It doesn't make you abnormal. It just says that you're at a place where you recognize something's not right here, and I can reach out and get the help that I need.
And it doesn't make you weak, right? So
it doesn't mean you're weak.
Right. So with the Superwomen Cape, as women, we have so many things that we're responsible for, and we are the backbone and the pillar of society. We just hold everything down. We hold everyone down.
Right.
we are the strong ones. We got to keep it together for everybody. And so, there could be a time when we trying to keep it together is not what we need to be doing. What we need to be doing is seeking out counseling, dealing with some of our issues, because we mentioned earlier with stressors, what I personally learned is that if you don't, and you guys talked about this at the event, which was really great information, that if you don't deal with your stressors as they come, then they could just pile on, right?
Right.
Until you get that one thing And that will just throw you right on over the edge.
Right. Take you right over the top. I mean, it's because we keep adding on to our plates. You asked earlier about, what things I saw when people come, the top 3 things I see when people come to our practice. It's interesting that I will see mothers bring their children to therapy because they know there's something going on.
Yeah.
And as we continue to work with the children and talk with the mother, we're finding out that mom's got some things going on as well.
Yes.
And what we end up doing then is kind of treating both. Not the same therapist, but we definitely will treat both because mom is dealing with a lot on her plate. But you're right, we tend to recognize it in others and not necessarily in ourselves. And we will, as I think I mentioned at your event, we'll wear out our friends, our family members, our pastors, everybody like, oh, I have to tell you what's going on. And they're oftentimes at a loss themselves as to what to do. And so you just keep talking and talking and talking. And finally, someone says to you, maybe you need to go talk to somebody, And that's kind of what prompts people to get into therapy, actually.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because when I first started going to therapy, my therapist said, stop doing that to your friends. You are wearing them out. That's not fair. Just stop. Because, you want, and you get on the phone, you want, oh, I'm going through this, and but it's natural because you want to talk to somebody. When
right,
you do stuff.
Right.
And so, for me, I thought it was really important to even, this is the reason, one of the main reasons why I started this business and just started it, because I know that when I was going through things, I didn't find that I had people to talk to. Of course, I had people to talk to. That's not the issue because I got a big family. In my mind, I didn't have anybody to talk to. Right. And so it's like you said, when you're going through depression and stuff, your mind, your state of mind is so different and altered from what it normally is that I didn't think I had anybody to talk to. I felt lonely. I was going through this alone. Nobody understood. Nobody in the world was going through this except for me. I was the only one, And so once I was because for me, I'm a research person. I like to read and research and stuff like that. And so I just started reading as much as I could and started trying to learn more about it. And as I did, I realized there's a lot of other women and people who go through it, and they must be feeling the same way that I was feeling.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, let me just put this out here and let you know you're not alone. We go through it. It's okay. It doesn't make you weak. It's going to be all right. We're going to work through it, ladies. Right, Miss Karen?
Yep. That's true. I mean, and the thing is that, that's why I really appreciate the work that you're doing because it gets women together. And what we find out is when we come together in very non-threatening activities, right? It gives us the opportunity to talk to one another and learn from each other about what you might have been going through. Oh, and this is what you did to get better. Maybe you did go and talk with someone. And so that helps. There was a phrase way back in, I guess, the early 90s that it was around the whole HIV and AIDS arena, and it was each one teach one.
Right.
It's one of those things where we really need to help each other to understand that, like you said, you're not in this alone and that others have gone through the same journey and can be there to kind of walk through it with you as well as direct you to the right place to get the help that you need.
Okay, that's good stuff. Thank you, Miss Karen. So now let's talk about your professional opinion. Why do you think the mental illness is just such a huge issue for women? I know we just kind of touched on that, but especially women of color. I know that you said that you have men there as well, but why do you think, I know we talked about the stigma, but let's talk a little bit about why it's such a huge issue for us as Black women.
I think because goes back to what we said earlier. I think sometimes we see it as a weakness. We don't have time to be ill. We don't have time to take out for ourselves, right? And what does that mean to my family members if I'm having to go and get help for me? What does that say? What does that say to my friends? Oh, Gail seems to be doing okay and she didn't have to go to therapy, but what's wrong with me that I have to go see someone? That type of thing. And I think that we tend to find these barriers that we put up that sometimes prevents us from seeking out the help that we need. But I think, personally, I think it's that thing of I got too much to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time to do with this. It'll take care of itself, until, like you say, you start spiraling out of control in such a manner that there is no more time left.
Mm-hmm.
You must address it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like we're really trying to find someone that can help.
Right, trying to be reactive instead of proactive, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
Think about it. I mean, we do the same thing oftentimes with our health. Like, we have certain health issues that we ignore,
Mm-hmm.
so we can't ignore them anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're starting to get better about that. But historically, too, I think we need to remember that mental illness for people of color comes with stigma because of the way we were treated historically as people of color when there was something mentally ill, when there was something going on. We were sent away. We were put in institutions.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes from generation to generation. Not so much that this generation fears being put away, but it's as if, well, we just don't talk about that. And that's one of the messages that I think we get in our families, is that don't talk about it. We know, you know, Aunt Susie over here has a problem. We just kind of keep her at home and help her with that, and we don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also what helps to continue to perpetuate that not reaching out for the help that you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that the good news is that I don't know if it has anything to do with the Me Too movement, or people are starting to be a little bit more understanding and coming out and saying that they have some issues that they've been dealing with. I know that I watched a show on HBO, I think it's called Insecure, and they had a couple episodes there where the girlfriend, you know, she's behaving risky with sexual encounters with all these different men. And finally her girlfriend's like, hey, I think you need to maybe go talk to somebody. And she's like, I don't need to see no psychiatrist, you know. So it was that.
Yep.
But I like how they approached it, you know, and it just showed her going through the motions, and I showed her going to the therapist and giving the therapist the blues because she didn't feel like she needed to be there because she had it all together. She had this career. Everything was great. However, she was acting out by having all these different men and going through them and not being able to commit in a relationship. And so that's how it manifested in her.
Right.
And they showed it, you know, on there. And I like that. And there's the actress Jennifer Lewis, I think. She just came out with a book called the Black Mother of Hollywood or something like that. And she talks about bipolar, and she's very like putting it out there. She don't care, right?
Yeah, because I remember seeing her on an interview show, and she talked about her lifestyle was just very out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things when we talk about the trauma that we've experienced and how that can manifest itself as well. I think there might have been some molestation or abuse in her history as well. And it does manifest itself in acting out type of behaviors. You can either go to the point where you're just completely pulled back and reserved and not willing to even enter into an intimate relationship, to down the other end of the spectrum, that type of thing. And so, I think you're right. I think now more and more people are talking about it. And I think that not only women, but men are coming out and talking about their experiences with mental illness as well. I think that, you know, like you said, in this Me Too movement, I think that there has been this opening up now, having these dialogues about things that are going on.
Yeah, and it's definitely, I think, heading in the right direction. And if we just keep having conversations about it, you know, I think that more people will get the help. You know, for me, if it's just one person, I would like for it to be a million, right? But if it's just one person out there that is hearing my voice and saying that, you know, I understand you're going through this, it's going to be okay. Let's get you some help. You know, we all go through challenges. We can get through it. We get through it together. This is what it looks like. This is who you need to go see. You know, if we can reach at least one person and help them through, then I think that we have done our job. So we have, now when Nicole is on the line, and so at a certain point, we'll let her kind of join in here. And let me just unmute her. I just want to make sure that she can hear us and she's still following along, okay?
Okay.
Hey, Nicole, are you still with us?
I'm here.
Awesome. Okay, great. So we're just going to keep... Miss Karen said hello.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, Miss Karen. So now let's talk about what are some ways that ARM, a renewed mind behavioral health center, your business. Let's talk about some ways that ARM has helped women deal with their mental health challenges.
A number of ways. We have worked with women in groups, especially women that have some of the similar issues around, it could be around self-esteem issues, it could be around anxiety, it could be depression. And I like working in groups oftentimes because women learn from each other. And so we've been able to do that. We definitely refer clients that we think need to be assessed for medication issues. We refer them to a psychiatrist because we don't have psychiatrists on staff, but we do refer them. Oftentimes we get women in from psychiatrist referrals as well. So we have individual sessions with women and work with them. We've done some activities similar to your event, your paint for a purpose. I think that was wonderful. It's finding those areas that women can engage in certain activities and kind of revitalize that energy level for them.
Okay.
So we've worked with women on that level as well. I'm trying to think. We like I said, we've done individual work, we do group work, and we have even had, because as I said, one of the issues that we have are around couples, relationship issues, and we do a lot of couples counseling as well.
Okay. All right. That's good stuff. Yeah, we're going to have to get another podcast we probably could do 3 separate podcasts on the relationship stuff, right?
Yeah, quite a few, yes.
That's a lot to unfold.
It is. It is.
Okay. All right. So what can we do if we think that we might be experiencing some of the symptoms you listed, or if we have friends or family members that we think are having some issues or challenges?
One of the first things that I would probably suggest before you even see a mental health counselor would be to see your physician. If you have a medical physician, because sometimes things are not always depression, or they may manifest themselves as depression, but there may be chronic pain or some other physical ailment going on.
Right. And
so I would start there first, or at least along the same, in parallel to seeing a counselor, a therapist, if you think that that's an issue. Because you can come in and you can be assessed. There are assessments that we can do to determine if this is depression, if it is a major depressive disorder that we're talking about, if it's generalized anxiety, if it's a phobia, if it's PTSD. We can make that assessment and diagnosis. And then we lay out a course of treatment. We develop a treatment plan with the therapist. Like I said earlier, if there's a need to see a psychiatrist for medication, we make that referral. For family members who are seeing these types of behaviors and are concerned, I would recommend that you mention to the person, I'm seeing this. This is not normally who you are. You really are very withdrawn right now, or it seems like you're worrying a lot about some things, or as you said, it may come out as anger. What's going on? And have that conversation with them. And then have your resources available, be able to say, this is where I would recommend, or someone I would recommend you go talk to, or let me help you find someone if this doesn't work for you. And then maybe even journey with them. I love the fact that sometimes we have clients who are brought there by a loved one. They journey with them to the facility to come in, and they just sit in the waiting room and wait. But it's that kind of hand-holding process sometimes that we need.
Yeah, and I can speak personally from experiences that if you're going through depression and you're having some challenges, a lot of times people can say, well, you need to go and talk to somebody, and then you're like, I don't feel like it. That's part of the issue, and so I like that you said that if you have to go with a friend or family member, and don't give up on them. That to me is the biggest thing, because I know my friend had probably said to me 75,000 times, you need to go see somebody. You need to go. And I'm like, I'm fine. You need to go see somebody. I'm fine. You need to go see somebody. Stop telling me I need to go see somebody. It's just like, and then finally, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I need to go see somebody different, and so it's like, don't give up on the person. If you have to hold hands with them, you know, you love them, you want to make sure that you've done all that you can personally do to help out. So that's good information.
And I would also say that there are times when we talk to a person 3 or 4 times before they come into the office.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's not that they get to necessarily need to see someone, they just need to talk to someone else. And oftentimes it's in those conversations that we're able to talk with the person and guide them into the office to see someone. So it's not unusual for us to have 2 or 3 conversations with someone before they actually come into the office.
Okay.
They just call to get general information, or they call to see, well, you know, I'm having this issue. So we try to have staff available that can work with them through those type of crisis situations as well.
Okay, that's wonderful. That's really good, Miss Karen. So now I'm gonna get Nicole here on the line, and let's see what kind of questions she has, because we've gone through a lot of stuff here.
Okay.
All right.
Hello.
Hey, Nicole.
Hi.
Hi. What questions do you have for us?
It's not really a question, kind of, sort of, but I have a 18-year-old who's suffering from anxiety. She's scared to go outside sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of weeks we went to Mercer, and she was supposed to be getting on a ride, and she froze.
Oh.
And she had to walk back down a couple flights of stairs in order to get back to where she was.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to find out how to help her. And
so is this the only time that she's frozen like this?
This is the only time this is my only time that I've seen her do it.
Okay. And has she enjoyed riding before?
Well, this was our first time going there, so I don't know, because it was a water ride, so I didn't think that would spark her anxiety. So I didn't know what to do at the time, but she didn't ride on the ride, and I just want to know how to help her.
Well, I'm not sure that one incident, remember when we talk about anxiety, if it's situational, that may be normal. It may not be that there's an issue. For example, there's just some people that are not great lovers of amusement park rides. And I mean, that kind of, some people get a little terrified with the water sports especially, or just roller coasters. I can speak to that because I'm one of those people.
Me too.
Okay? Me too. It's like, I just, I don't like that frightening feeling. I don't, you know, so it could be that may be what's going on. But like I said, if it's different than what it has been in the past, then that's where I would get a little concerned.
Okay.
You know, if she's enjoyed those types of rides before and all of a sudden she's freezing, then the question would be what's going, you know, to talk to her about what are you feeling right now? Just to really ask that question rather than say, come on, let's get on the ride. What's wrong? It would be more of, what are you feeling right now? And see if she can put that into words for you.
And I kind of asked that question, and then I also said to her, well, just calm down, breathe. You know, we walked up the stairs slower to give her time to get herself together before we got to the top of the ride. But when she finally got to the top, I guess she decided that that's not what she wanted to do.
Okay. And I think that you did just the right things. Breathing is really important. I should have said that earlier, because I tell you, when we stop breathing and stop getting oxygen, it really plays havoc on our bodies and our minds. Mm-hmm. So that's really important. The deep breathing is important. Having her doing what we would call like approximating, just being able to, you know, take one step at a time was important. But I think once she got there and she was like, nope, don't want to do this, I think being accepting of, I don't want to do this, is the other part that needs to happen too. It's just like, it may not be anything serious at this point, but find out what is it that she was feeling, what exactly was going on at that time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd like to add something too, is, I mean, I'm certainly not a healthcare professional, but I'm a person who suffers from anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder. And one of the things that I've learned is that, you know, the majority of the things that I experience with anxiety, it's all things in my mind, the thoughts that happen before that I get myself worked up. Right. And so, like Ms. Karen said, you know, asking what is it about this situation that's stressful for you, that's causing you to have this onset of anxiety? Because, you know, I know for me, I could get, you know, and it depends on what's going on personally at that time as well. Because like we talked about earlier, there were certain stressors that were happening in my life that I hadn't dealt with. And so, you know, any little thing added to it, you know, and so I could go to a market, a place that I'd been 1,000 times, but then I would have this anxiety attack coming on. And it was like, what is this all about? You know, and it was, okay, well, there was other things that were stressing me. And so when I got into that market, you know, the thoughts of, I don't want to be here. So many people here. Oh my gosh, what's going, like, I worked myself up like all the time into this like frenzy, you know, and then my therapist said, okay, listen, because then the next thing was, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. I can't take it. Right. And so now I'm running away from the problem. And one of the things she taught me was, when you feel yourself starting to have those thoughts, right, you're starting to go down that path, let's think about it. Like, what is it about this that's stressing me? You know, it's not going to be that bad. For me, I'm like this, they call it jumping to conclusions, right? It's like the world is going to end right now for me for this thing, but it's because in my mind, I've worked myself up to that, right? And so for me, it was being able to, I guess I can call it self-soothing, right, Ms. Karen?
Right, or self-talk. Yeah,
self-talk,
changing
right.
your self-talk. Mm-hmm.
Right, changing my negative self-talk, which was, this is awful, I can't stand this ride is awful, I'm going to die on this ride, this is blah, blah, and then changing that into, okay, it's not that bad, it's going to be okay, I've done this before, I'm going to get through this. And so that's why, and then also that's another reason why I'm so big with my events and stuff on positive self-talk and affirmations, because those are things that I've used in my therapy to bring myself down off, you know, the ledge, and then bring myself back to reality. And it really has helped with my anxiety.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Did you have any other questions?
Nope, that was the only question that I had.
All right. I'm going to try that self-soothing next time I get ready to get on a ride. I don't like
I don't know if it was the ride per se. It may have been because it was a family trip. Yeah. I think excitement and her wanting to do something, and then it just plateaued from there.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. And sometimes I know for me, when there's a lot of stuff going on, oh my goodness, it can really like get me worked up, like, oh, like this family, and I got all these things going on. And even with my events, Miss Karen, like I have a person there that helps me, and he's amazing, and he's my assistant, and he helps me because he just takes care of the stuff for me, because sometimes it's overwhelming for a person with anxiety to have a lot of stuff going on at one time.
That's true. That's true. And I always tell people to, you know, like you said, when you think you're having an anxiety attack or a panic attack, to just really what we call ground yourself. So the self-talk and self-soothing is one way. Sometimes it's just a matter of feeling the bottom of the seat that you're sitting in, or feeling the floor that's up under you. Yeah. I've even had people to take rubber bands and put them on their arm and pop the rubber band, because it brings them back. Because you're right, it's your mind that's racing to so far out into the future, to the, you know, you're thinking the worst possible scenarios. And so sometimes you have to be grounded in the here and now. So that's important.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Nicole. All right, Miss Karen. So thank you so much. I know I've kept you for 45 minutes, almost an hour, but you're giving us so much good information. I could keep you on here all day, but I know you have other things to do. So
well, I hope that it's been helpful for others. I definitely hope so.
All right. So now tell everybody, where can they find you if they have more questions, or if they want to visit a Renewed Mind Behavioral Health Center? Where can they find you?
Okay. So our address is 5707 Calverton Street, and we're in Suite 1F in Catonsville. And we are on the web at, you know, www.arenewedmind.net.
Okay.
And our phone number is 443-251-5975. And so those are the ways that you can reach us. We have varied hours. We're there on the weekends as well. So if we're not answering the phone, it's because we're with someone, but feel free to leave a message and we definitely will get back with you.
All right. Thank you so much for blessing us with your time, Ms. Karen. And I'm so thankful that we have people like you out there that are trying to make a difference and trying to help us with this, situation with our mental health and just helping get us back on a good track. So I really am so thankful for you, and I appreciate all that you do. Thank you for taking your time out on this Sunday to talk to us.
No problem. Thank you. And thank you for all that you do. You're making a great impact on the community. So keep up the good work.
Thank you, Miss Karen. All right. We'll speak soon because we do need to talk about the relationship stuff.
Okay. All right. Take care. Bye-bye, Nicole.
Right.
All right.
Bye. Okay, ladies, you have just reached the end of another episode of Grown and Sexy Sistahs Talk. This was real conversation for real women about real life. I really hope you enjoyed our talk, and I have a little homework for you. First, I want you to go to my website, www.grownsexysistah.com, to sign up for my newsletter. On there, you can also read my blog, find valuable free resources, schedule a coaching session, or just check out some upcoming events. Second, I want you to subscribe to my podcast. You can do it on iTunes or Google Play. You don't want to miss out on one single episode, so that's going to be really important. And third, check me out on YouTube. You can type in Grown and Sexy Sistah with an AH in the search bar and make sure to subscribe there as well. I want you to be able to see the amazing video recordings of these podcasts there. So much love, be blessed, stay grown and sexy, sisters, and we'll speak soon.